In this episode, Dan continues his struggles with the Crown Prosecutor Nicholas Barber to release his discovery, which in turn brings light to the reason why good old Nick is stalling and waiting until the last moment to do so. Dan also has major roadblocks with the RCMP ignoring his subpoenas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Documenting and Exposing West Shore RCMP. This is part 10. So in part 9 we learned some interesting things about the West Shore RCMP. They have a zero tolerance for dangerous drivers, unless dangerous driver complaints are made by people with YouTube channels about police and justice system and prosecutors. Even though one of their own members was killed by a dangerous reckless driver 2 years prior to me making this dangerous driver complaint. And Constable Don McIntosh tossed my dangerous driver complaint after he looked me up in their system and found out who I was. And we also learned that there's all these alarm bells going off and all these media posts about how the West Shore RCMP are understaffed and they need more police officers and they need more money, and the easily fooled Mayor Stu Young of Langford says, yeah, we need to throw more money at these guys. The politicians need to support the RCMP so they can do their jobs. So with that said, let's get on to, let's officially start part 10. So part 10 is going to start here. I've been waiting for months now. I've sent the prosecutor, Nicholas Barber, 3 well-crafted letters requesting the disclosure of my videos or the return of my property or the return of my property. So here we are. It's the end of June 2019. I've been waiting 8 months for the disclosure of my videos, my evidence. I need to use this at trial. And the trial is in September 2019. If I don't get these videos soon, I'm not going to be able to review them and prepare for trial. So I decided I would write Nicholas Barber, Crown Prosecutor, a 4th letter here. And as we can see here, this was written on June 27th. 2019, and it goes something like this. Mr. Barber, it has been over 6 months now since I last wrote to you. Not only have you failed to respond, but you have also failed to send me a single thing that I've requested from you. You have also taken it upon yourself to delay this matter. Justice delayed is justice denied. Isn't it, Mr. Barber? How do you expect me to defend myself in this matter if you intentionally delay it unreasonably, fail to respond, fail to provide any of the material I've requested? Is this the fairness that Crown is so proud to boast about in your acts and policies? Are you planning on pulling a Kate Dutton and changing the story the day before the trial and dumping a disclosure package in my lap on the morning of the trial? That's fair, isn't it? I have other materials I want to request, but since you have failed to oblige any request I've sent you, so I guess I'll take it up with the judge. Please see my previous letters and send those materials as requested. I am putting you on notice. If I have not received disclosure in its entirety by July 11, 2019, I will not be able to adequately defend myself. I want to thank you for making it easy for me to prove my point after the criminal matter is concluded. You literally could not have made it any easier for me. So, there we go. There is letter number 4 that I've put to Crown Prosecutor Nicholas Barber in writing, requesting the disclosure of my videos, my property, or the return. So I'm basically telling him here, if you can't get this to me 2 months before the trial, then I'm not going to be able to adequately defend myself. And I also reference him pulling a Kate Dutton, and that was a prosecutor that did just that to me. There was this whole bogus charge. This is how I got started in making police and justice system videos on YouTube. Was basically because of Kate Dutton, a Crown prosecutor in Victoria, British Columbia. So I was being prosecuted for an assault. It's a hilarious story, but I won't get into it. But Anyways, it went to trial. I showed up to trial without a lawyer and was going to do it all myself. And the prosecutor, Kate Dutton, on the morning of the trial, she dumped this disclosure package into my lap. And when I looked at it, they'd completely changed their story. And I was now stuck with I had to scramble to come up with new questions for this new story on the morning of the trial. It was just hilarious. They had, they had over a year to get this all squared away. And sure enough, on the morning of the trial, they changed the whole story and then dumped it in my lap. And then I had to scramble and struggle to even just keep it together and keep up with the nonsense that was going on. So that's what I mean by, are you planning on pulling a Kate Dutton and changing the story the day before the trial and dumping a disclosure package in my lap on the morning of the trial? That's fair, isn't it? So that's going to wrap up June 2019. I still haven't received my property or my evidence or even really a response. And shortly into July, we made this quick video at the Western Communities Courthouse. This is on July 10th, 2019.
Hello, good citizens. My name is Dan. Today is July 10th, 2019, and we are just about 2 months away from the criminal trial where I got arrested for taking pictures and video of the West Shore RCMP detachment. And today, what we've done today is I brought in all my subpoenas and had them signed by a justice of the peace. They all got signed. There's a number of witnesses. And those subpoenas are now going to the BC sheriffs, and those sheriffs are going to serve all of the witnesses that I may call as witnesses in my criminal trial. That's probably going to be the last update before trial. So guess we'll see you later. Thanks for watching.
So when I received the early disclosure package, which had the statements written by the West Shore RCMP, one of the things that I noticed is that they were referencing a lot of things that other police departments and other police officers were saying about me, that they were using that to as a basis to recommend charges against me for the arrest at the West Shore RCMP detachment on July 25th, 2018, which I thought was odd. Now, Mr. Bruce Dean and I, we did it's not a FOIA request, but for the RCMP, it's called something else. But we did a request for the records, for the statements for this police file, as Mr. Dean actually wanted to put in a complaint after the watch commander that arrested me then threatened Mr. Dean with arrest. So we didn't really we got a response to the records request for the police statements and the police file, but the response was they didn't know what we were talking about and they needed more information. So they basically responded with a non-response. So for now, I don't have anything to publish as far as police statements, but that'll eventually come down the road sometime. So I've subpoenaed a number of police officers that are not from the West Shore RCMP, that were mentioned by the West Shore RCMP, that said things or made files about me that the West Shore RCMP has actually used as a basis to forward the charges against me that I'm now facing in a criminal matter. And any police officer that I've had an interaction with that contradicts what other police officers have said or created files about me, I've also subpoenaed those police officers as well. You may remember from the Fundamental Freedom Evaluation Series, it was episode 6 where I went to, it was a prison, and the prison staff, the corrections officers called the Saanich police, and I had a very cordial, professional conversation with Saanich police officer. Gave his first name is Colby. Found out later his last name is McIntyre. So he's actually one of the police officers that have subpoenaed to my criminal trial. As when you read, you'll eventually see what the West Shore RCMP wrote about me, and then when you watch, compare that to the video of my interaction with the Saanich police, Colby McIntyre, you'll see that the police are saying two very different things about me.
My name is
Colby.
Colby, I'm Dan.
Yes, please. Nice to meet you, Dan.
Nice to meet you.
You know what, but it was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being civil with me.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
You're a pleasure to talk to.
And I've also subpoenaed any of the West Shore RCMP members that have had anything to do with this, including the guy that arrested me, Arun Kundu-Thomsen. Now, this is interesting because one thing I learned a few years ago is that it's very easy for the police to falsely arrest you, and you get charges approved and you have a criminal trial set, and on the day of the trial the police just don't show up because they don't want to lie in court. And then the prosecutor or the defense lawyer or the accused makes a motion to have the entire thing dismissed, and it's usually granted because the police didn't show up, and then nothing happens after that. So for me, that's not acceptable. So what I always do when I'm falsely arrested is I always subpoena all of the arresting police. If you participated in my arrest, you're going to be subpoenaed as my witness. And if you subpoena all of the arresting police officers, that means that they can't skip trial. They have to come to court. They have to testify now. And if they don't show up after they've been properly subpoenaed, you can then instruct the judge to issue warrants for their arrest. Usually when police falsely arrest people, they think that the people that they falsely arrested are going to try to get the charges dropped or the whole case thrown out. And it never goes to trial. If I get falsely arrested and you participated in my arrest, you're going to be subpoenaed as my witness, and you're going to have to show up to court, and you're going to have to testify. And if you don't, then I'm going to instruct the judge to issue a warrant for your arrest. And I found it interesting because I got a phone call from a lawyer from one of the police members that was subpoenaed. And he said something interesting to me. We were talking about how the prosecutor hadn't responded to my letters for the request for the disclosure of my videos, my evidence, and my property. And he said something very interesting to me. He said that, oh yeah, you might not get it unless you consent. And I was recording the phone call, and I didn't catch it when he first said it, but when I went back to listen to it, I caught it. And I asked a friend of mine, I said, well, I asked him, I go, well, what's this guy talking about? He said, I might not get my videos unless I consent. Because I thought, well, there's no way in hell I'm going to consent to that. But what my friend said was that he had a theory that that's actually how they might get this whole thing thrown out, and then they might not be responsible for it. He basically put it to me like, if they're just going to withhold all of your evidence, they're going to withhold all your property, they're not going to respond, they're not going to give it to you, they're going to make you wait, maybe a year after asking, and then they're going to say, well, they can't give it to you. You have to consent for the police to search your cameras, and then they'll give it to you. And of course, I was like, well, there's no way. I would never consent to that. And that's what he was saying was, see, because if you don't consent, then they're probably just going to drop all the charges because they don't have any evidence. And they don't want to bring this to court with no evidence, especially after seizing 4 cameras and a cell phone. So he told me, he said, that's exactly what they are expecting you to do. And he asked me, do you have anything on those cameras that you don't want them to see? I said, well, no, it's like I usually, clear them off. The camcorder had a lot of the videos from all of the places that we went to. But the other cameras were basically clean. They didn't really have. There was a couple of fishing videos on the chest camera, but for another YouTube channel that I have about fishing. But other than that, there wasn't there wasn't anything that would harm me if the police saw it. So my friend actually suggested that I should consent if they asked me to, and I was kind of weirded out about it. But he did have a good point. He said, if you don't consent, then that's how they're going to drop the charges, and that's how they're going to get away with this, and that's how they're going to chalk it up as no harm, no foul. And that's not what I want to get out of this. So it's interesting that the lawyer that I spoke to for a police officer brought that up, and I asked a friend about it, and he said that's probably what they're going to try. That's probably how they're going to get this thrown out. They're going to get you to throw it out by not consenting. And then it's no harm, no foul. They can say, oh, no, we dropped the charges because he wouldn't consent. So, and when he said this, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to consent to this. But I thought about it after, and I realized he did have a good point. That's probably how, down the road, that's probably how they're going to get this thrown out. And then that they're going to claim, well, they're not responsible for it because I didn't consent. So that's pretty much your update for July 2019. I still haven't received any of my evidence. I still haven't received any of my videos. Haven't received really anything that I've asked for from Crown Prosecutor Nicholas Barber. So part 11 is, give you a little heads up here. I got another phone call about these subpoenas. And it was from a staff sergeant at a police department that was not the West Shore RCMP detachment. And he left a voicemail on my phone saying that the police officer that I subpoenaed to my criminal trial isn't going to be there. He isn't going to make it. He's had that time booked off for some time for vacation, so he's not going to be there. And he suggested to me that if I had any questions or concerns, that I can give him a call back. Well, guess what? I gave him a call back. And that'll be part 11. So it's a very, very interesting phone call. So stay tuned for that. You will not want to miss that. And that'll wrap up part 10. So stay tuned for part 11. It's far from over. Thanks for watching.